Title: The comment I recognized at 2:09 a.m. I used to joke that my marriage had release notes. Every Sunday I wrote a short list of what I'd fixed or improved that week and stuck it to the fridge with a magnet that said, "Do not eat." This is a magnet. Leaky faucet tightened. Porch bulb replaced. Coffee grinder decalcified. It sounds dorky, and it was, but it was our bit. My wife, Maya, would add in pencil things that didn't make sense in a maintenance log. Laughed at dumb joke on G-Train. Remembered to text your sister back. Carried heavy feelings more gently. We'd read them out loud, clink mugs like they were champagne, and call the list done. If you'd asked me then what could break us, I would have said something big. Not a meteor, just the emotional equivalent. Betrayal, leaving. One of us becoming unrecognizable to the other overnight. I didn't understand that you can lose your marriage the way you lose a word on the tip of your tongue, slowly, while still using it every day. My name is Ethan. I'm 40. I do product operations for a tiny company that makes receipts look pretty. Yes, that's a real job. Someone has to make subtotal line up. My wife, my ex-wife now, is Maya, 38, a copy editor turned essayist who could turn boredom into a paragraph you wanted to hug. She wrote a newsletter on Sunday evenings about small joys and how to arrange a life that feels breathable. She was good at noticing. She noticed the way the first strawberries in April taste like someone remembered sugar. She noticed that our neighbors' plants did better when the radio was on. She noticed me, the way my breathing changed when I was 2 minutes from saying I'm fine. We met 8 years ago at a birthday party for a mutual friend who'd attempted no gifts, bring a poem. Everyone brought a poem on their phone. Maya brought one on a napkin. It was messy and funny and weirdly precise. She read it too fast and then blushed and crumpled it and said, "Okay, I'm going to eat cake now." I asked her if she always wrote like that, like she was late to her own feelings. She said, "I'm trying to be on time." 2 months later, I was carrying her bookshelf up 4 flights of stairs, and she was bringing me a glass of water at the exact moment I realized I needed one. The first odd thing was a typo. Maya doesn't do typos, not even in texts. If she sends you "tay," it's a joke. But she started typing restaurant, and not once, 3 times in a week. Let's try that new restaurant near Hoyt. Restaurant name? Is that restaurant cash only? I teased her. She said her thumbs were tired. It was small and ridiculous, and I only remember it because of everything that came after. Next came the new login next to our names on the TV. North Kitchen. We share accounts because we are not saints. North Kitchen started watching a documentary about small-town diners at 1:12 a.m. on a Tuesday. It resumed 2 hours later. When I asked, Maya shrugged. Probably autoplay. She hates autoplay. She also started leaving on Wednesday nights for writing group. It wasn't strange on its face. She'd had versions of writing group since the napkin poem. But this group had rules that conveniently became facts. No phones, no photos, no swapping locations. We're trying to get away from the content machine, she said. Fair, righteous even. Anytime I asked how it went, she said, good. The way you answer a barista who asks how your day is with a line of 10 people behind you. There were louder clues I should have heard. The newsletter grew. She went from a few hundred readers to thousands. She never bragged. She fed comments back to her lists like kindling to a careful fire. Her writing shifted, less essay, more story. She started using a detail I'd used on our second date to make her laugh. Quiet as the refrigerator at night. It's dumb, I know, but it's ours. The first time I read it in her Sunday Sen, I smiled. The third time, in a piece about the man who thinks lists can love you back, I paused and watched my smile become something else. If this were fiction, the reveal would have come on a line I could quote and pin to the corkboard. In real life, it arrived as a comment under a post she wrote at 2:09 a.m. A reader named Northbridge typed, "I don't want to be polite anymore about what I want." In the same minute, Maya replied, "Then don't be. It shouldn't have lit me up." Maya replies to readers kindly. It's part of why her list grew. But the timing 2:09 a.m. bothered me. Not because of the hour, because that was the minute my phone, on the nightstand, lit up with a push notification. Maya just published "The Man with the Release Notes." Yes, that was me. I wasn't named. I didn't need to be. I read the piece. She'd changed facts, like a good essayist does to protect the living. Our cat became a dog. Our magnet said, please don't. This is a magnet, close enough. Our fridge became a freezer because freezer is funnier. But the released notes were mine, word for word. She quoted the part where I wrote, tested the generator, prayed I never need it. She quoted the joke about duct tape that wasn't funny, but always made her snort. In her version, the man is sweet and useful and also a coward. He maintains instead of deciding. He fixes instead of asking why it broke. He writes reports so he won't have to make a speech. I stared at the last paragraph. She ended with, sometimes love is a list of things you keep working so you never have to ask if it still does. It was good. She's good. That wasn't the problem. I didn't tell her I'd read it. I told myself I was being generous, letting the work do what work does. But as I brushed my teeth that night, I looked at our faces in the mirror. The paired domesticity of it. Us in our late 30s wearing the same t-shirt from a fundraiser 4 summers ago. And I felt for the first time like an extra in my own movie. Of course I told myself I was being dramatic. Of course I made a better breakfast than usual the next morning to balance a feeling I wouldn't name. Of course I told her the piece was beautiful, and she hugged me, and we did dishes like we were inventing marriage again. She said, people really loved it. And I said, I can see why. And neither of us said the word we. 2 weeks later, a deposit hit our joint account from a platform I didn't recognize. Pat $147.36. Good month, I texted. She replied with 4 heart emojis and, thank you for supporting me, even when you don't get the work. I stared at the phrase, the work, and wanted to argue with capitalization. It would have probably stayed emotional painful, but fixable if not for the second layer. The physical one. It started at a reading. Maya was featured in a little East Village bookstore that doubles as a cafe, that triples as a gallery. 20 metal chairs, folding, everyone pretending not to be cramped. I stood in the back because I'm tall, and I knew she'd want me to spot her when she looked up. She read a piece about the man who calibrates everything but his heart, and everyone laughed in the right places. She was luminous. I was proud and irritated and kept both in my mouth like a coin. After, people lined up to talk to her, say thank you, ask about process. One woman stayed back, olive coat, short hair, the kind of face that looks awake even when it's still. When the line thinned, she stepped forward. I'm North, she said, like we knew. Maya said her real name like she'd been practicing not to say it out loud. Rowan. The name hit me like I'd heard it before and couldn't place it. She handed Maya a small envelope with a cartoon magnet sticker on the flap. I shouldn't have been able to read the letters. I did anyway. For your list. When she left, she put 2 fingers against Maya's wrist like a secret handshake. We took the train home. Maya held the envelope inside her coat. She was quiet in the way she is when she's too full to spill. I asked how she was feeling, because I am a person who asks. She said something about gratitude and community and not feeling crazy. She said, it's nice when someone gets it. I said, I get it, which is the line men say when they think they're auditioning well. At 1:04 a.m., Maya's laptop screen turned the bedroom blue. I rolled over. She muttered sorry and shut it. At 1:11, my phone lit up in the kitchen because I'd left it there while making tea. Another deposit, Pat $429.20. In the memo line, North Kitchen Q3. At 2:09 again, a comment appeared under the reading recap. I keep thinking about the way he writes those lists. Does he know he's the poem? Northbridge. Maya wrote back, he thinks they're notes. I know better. You can say I shouldn't have read comments in the middle of the night. You'd be right. It wouldn't have changed the part that landed like a nail. Does he know he's the poem? Nothing had ever made me feel less like literature. The next morning I told her I needed a day. She said she had one too. Writing group retreat. They were going upstate, all phones off, cabins, hot water questionable. I wanted to say, the world is a mitigated risk at the speed of good Wi-Fi. But instead I said, drive safe. She kissed me and said, I'll bring you a rock, the way she did when she went somewhere she wanted to fold me into. She used to bring back smooth ones, the kind you keep near a plant. She left. I made eggs. I took a shower. I opened the laptop to pay a bill and accidentally found more of myself than any bill should ever expose. Maya had never logged out of her alt email because who logs out of anything now? In her browser, an inbox was open for North Kitcheny. The subject lines were polite and mercenary, which is to say, professional, collab idea, love your last piece, brand inquiry, and one that had my name in it. RE, release notes, private. I didn't click it. I'm saying that because it matters that I tried to be someone I'd recognize later. I closed the window. I went to look for a warranty in our shared drive and spotted a folder called transcripts that didn't belong to anything domestic. Inside, screenshots. A folder of screenshots of her DMs with Northbridge. I won't tell you everything they said. I won't because it's not mine to publish and because it isn't special. Just the particular gravity two people discover when one is writing and the other says more. A few lines. I think I'm writing to you even when I'm pretending I'm writing to strangers. Maybe you are. He's so good, it's so quiet. Maybe that's the problem. Good and quiet are the same word for him. Do you ever say what you want? Not when it's inconvenient. And then, 4 days after the reading, there's a hotel bar on Fremont with plants everywhere and tea cocktails. It's ridiculous. Meet me there and tell me the part you didn't put in the essay. I'm supposed to be upstate. Then pretend. Writers are good at pretending. A photo after, 2 glasses, a corner of a plant, a blur that could be a wrist. The timestamp was 11:47 p.m. The alt calendar entry at the same time said, Writing Group Travel. The notification on our lock later. 1:52 a.m., door unlocked, custom code. 2:03 a.m., door locked. The logs don't care about poetics. They just tell you where the metal went. I didn't break the speaker. I didn't smash her laptop. I didn't call her. I printed the screenshot of our lock log and put it under the magnet that says, Do not eat. This is a magnet. Petty? Sure. Honest? Also yes. She came home an hour past noon looking like a person who stayed up all night and is now pretending she's a person who camped. I asked her if she brought me a rock. She handed me a packet of tea. Bergamot and chamomile, hotel bar scent. I held up the door log. She closed her eyes. It's not what you think, she said. And then because she is good at writing and refuses to be bad at life, she reopened them and said, It's exactly what you think. I'm sorry. We went to therapy because that is what people like us do. Our therapist was a man who looks like a worn-out sweater and uses we in a way that made me feel like he meant it. We need to get curious. We need to slow down. We need to hold 2 truths. I didn't want 2 truths. I wanted one reality you can sit on without wobbling. In the room, Maya did not deny. She named, I crossed lines. First with words, then with a body. I didn't plan it. I did it anyway. She cried like someone trying to breathe past a drawer of knives. I cried like someone who discovered his house had a second door he never had a key to. We drew rules on a white legal pad like we were inventing democracy. No contact. Password transparency. Pause the newsletter for a month. I don't want to lose the work, she said, and I said, I know, and meant it in a way that made everything worse. For 2 weeks, she tried. She came to bed before midnight. She put her phone on the counter and didn't flinch when it buzzed. She started making pancakes on Sunday again, the way we did when money was thinner, and Sundays saved us. She also stared at windows like they were screens and wrote on paper like she was translating herself back into a language she used to speak. Then at 2:09 a.m., I woke to soft tapping. She was in the kitchen, typing on the laptop in the blue light. The newsletter template was open. Title, What We Owe the Quiet. I stood in the doorway like an intruder in my own life and watched her write a line I had said in therapy 3 days earlier. Sometimes maintenance is love, sometimes it's fear with a toolkit. She didn't look up. She scheduled the send for the morning. She closed the laptop like it had done something brave. I asked her the next day to put the list down, not the release notes, the real list, the ledger she was keeping of who deserved what, from whom. If you're staying, stay, I said. If you're leaving, leave. We can't be content. She said, I don't want to be content. And there it was, a sentence that meant 2 different things depending on who owned it. We tried another 2 weeks because hope is a habit and we were still good at routines. Then I saw the typo again, restaurant in a comment under her post. Northbridge. Meet me at the restaurant. Say nothing. Just sit with me. No one spells it like that by accident. No one noticed except the man who knows the shape of her hands on a keyboard and the way her words double back when she's trying not to say a thing. I didn't follow her. I didn't install trackers. I didn't call the hotel. I made a list on a napkin like it was a poem and wrote 3 bullets. I love you. I deserve to believe my own eyes. This house is not a newsletter. When she came home, I read it out loud. She listened like a person in a pew. She said, "I'm sorry," like a person at the end of a letter. She added one line, "I can't stop writing to her." And that was the knife that didn't look like one. We separated the way well-meaning people do. She took the desk by the window because it was where the light is, which felt too on the nose to be true, and was still true. I kept the bed because the bed had my shape and could hold me another season. We didn't torch the city with each other's names. We told a few friends. My sister made me soup and didn't say I never liked her because my sister is merciful. Maya moved in with a friend who taught yoga and never asked me to forgive her in a sentence that could be screenshotted. I thought I'd hate the sound of her name. Instead, I hated the number 209. I removed it from my life with the fervor of a man who has decided numbers can't hurt you if you turn the clocks to 210. I failed, of course. My phone still lit up with deposits to an account that no longer paid our bills. People still sent me her pieces as if sharing beauty with me could fix where it came from. A month after she moved out, I went to a reading. Not hers, a friend's. Everything smelled like new books and dust and ambition. On the bulletin board by the door, someone had posted a flyer for a live episode of The Corridor. What We Owe the Quiet. I stood there with my hands in my pockets and considered whether petulance counts as an emotion. I went. They recorded in a small theater that used to be a church. The stage was a rug and a lamp and 2 chairs. Ray was in one. Maya, no, not Maya, my ex-wife, sat in the other as the guest. My first instinct was to stand up and announce every receipt in my pocket. I didn't. Ray introduced her as a writer whose attention will save your ordinary. The audience hummed their agreement. Maya read an essay about a man who writes lists, and she did it with that voice that used to make me think even laundry has a plot. In the middle, she adjusted a line I knew because I had said it once, in the kitchen, hand on the counter like a preacher. "This house is not content." She said, "This love is not content." And I watched a room inhale, and I felt impossibly proud of a sentence that had been mine in a smaller version. They did a Q&A. A woman asked, "How do you know when a story stops being yours to tell?" Ray said something about harm. Maya said, "When the person you love stops recognizing themselves inside it." Then she looked toward the back toward me, I thought, and didn't flinch. I didn't go up after. I didn't wait by the door or send a text that said, "Good work," like a man pretending he can be a colleague. I walked home slowly. The city was loud and alive and didn't need my life to agree with its tempo. I passed a restaurant that spelled restaurant wrong on a chalkboard and laughed out loud in a way that probably made a stranger cross the street. The divorce was paperwork in an office where the lady had a plant she apologized to for underwatering. We split furniture with more grace than we split a life. Her newsletter kept growing. I stopped opening it. This is not righteousness, it's survival. I heard through friends that Ray moved to LA and then back. I heard Maya is teaching a workshop about writing from the middle. I don't know if she and Northbridge found a way to be an ending. Endings are not my business anymore. People want a clean arc. They want me to say I learned to love myself and began baking bread and ran a marathon, and my heart is a room I can finally dance in without stepping on anyone's feet. I learned smaller things. If you leave ginger in the fridge long enough, it will sprout. The sprout is beautiful and slightly accusatory. If you take a walk at the exact time a train crosses the bridge, the city sounds like it's sighing. If you stop telling your story to someone who's turned it into episodes, the silence in your kitchen is not empty. It's available. I still write lists. I stopped sticking them to the fridge like announcements. They live in a drawer, messy, with old receipts and a pen that doesn't work, and a postcard my friend sent with a drawing of a small dog wearing a cape. The lists look different now. Not fix faucet, though that's on there, faucets remain mortal. More like, call Sam even if nothing is wrong. Read before bed. Put flowers on the table just because the table is a good host. Don't check who read what. Let Wednesday be just Wednesday. True. Last week, I got a comment on a random photo I posted of my breakfast. Quiet as the refrigerator at night. It was from a stranger, probably someone who reads her and doesn't know where the phrase started. I stared at it and waited for the anger to arrive. Instead, I felt something like a second chance. Words travel. Some go where they shouldn't. Some come home wearing other people's shoes and you let them in anyway. The refrigerator hummed. I cooked eggs. I made coffee and didn't care if the grinder needed decalcifying. I stood in the doorway and watched my own life in the morning light, 2 mugs, a plant that refuses to die, a chair pulled out like someone will return to it soon. There is a comment I will never publish under any essay or video or post because it's only for me. I am not a poem because someone else says so. I am not a list because I am easier to love that way. I am a person who can be quiet without being ornamental and loud without being a warning, and I can leave a room that turns me into content without burning the building down. At 2:09 a.m., a few nights ago, I woke up, not from a notification, from habit. I lay there, waiting for a blue light that didn't come, for tapping that didn't start, for a sentence that wasn't going to publish. The room was dark and unremarkable. My chest did not fill with bees. I closed my eyes and did something I hadn't done in too long. I went back to sleep because there was nothing urgent to read about my own life. In the morning, I made a release note and didn't stick it anywhere. It said simply, stopped being a character, started being a person again. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you. It means a lot. New stories like this one are posted every single day, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss one. And if this story touched you, please give it a like. It really helps more people find our content.